Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I tinker with throughout the day. For step-by-step detailed instructions of those tasks, you can click on the links in the comment section below. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. This video also has tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. So, thank you very much for watching. Here we go, people! Party, people! It is finally time to do the final upgrades. Well, whatever upgrades on Queen Bee, which includes the 18T turbo, the ARD tune, replacing a couple of vacuum lines to stage 0 it, putting the NA intake manifold on. I may not be putting the throttle body on just yet, but just the turbo, the tune, and the blue injectors will take this car, should take this car close to the level that I wanted it. Then we will go up to the track and do a fresh quarter-mile time. My last quarter-mile times were not impressive at 17.3 through 17.8, but I think it had something to do with the turbo, which I am sending in to A1 Turbo Industries to be rebuilt. Anyway, let's get down to the shop and get started. Wow, I almost forgot my NA intake manifold, which is on the edge of my balcony. So I need to go back and get that, get down to the shop. I just put that thing out there 10 minutes ago. Queen Bee cooling down for the turbo swap. I wanted to tell you kids, fix your dang on lifts. My trunk lifts are bad. The trunk fell closed right now and busted my tail light. Scared the crap out of me. So I need to find a tail light. Passenger side for Queen Bee. These trunk lifts are shot. So let me get everything ready so I can get this turbo swapped and move forward. Getting Queen Bee spruced up. Now Queen Bee is getting the 18T that came on the 99 V70R. It's getting blue injectors, not green. Some people use white, some people use blue. I don't know the difference. They say they flow the same, but there's something different about them. Let me go ahead and get that turbo. Now this is the turbo, professionally rebuilt by A1 Turbo Industries. I had a turbo guy comment on one of my videos about shaft play, and if you look down there, you can see a little bit of play in this freshly rebuilt turbo. Very little, mainly because the turbo doesn't have any oil or coolant in it. So if a turbo's been drained, sitting for a while, you may have a little bit of play in it. This turbo has been upgraded with the 9-blade exhaust wheel, turbine wheel. That should increase the performance of this turbo by 20%. So I'm looking for, even though it's an 18T, Tony at A1 Turbo thinks that this is going to outperform my 19T that I got on the Panther. So once I get Panther dialed in a little better with the tune, I'm going to run a quarter-mile on it. But I'm going to take Queen Bee to the track, hopefully tomorrow night, to run a fresh quarter-mile time on it. I'm not going to hurt myself trying to get a dyno, but hey, if I could get into the dyno, I'll do that as well. But this is the turbo that came off of a V70R, it had about 235,000 miles on it when I got it off that vehicle. It's been freshly rebuilt, sitting, waiting for this upgrade on Queen Bee. Here's the tune I'm putting in from ARD Tuning. I gave them the specifics of the upgrades I had, what size turbo I was running, asked them for recommendations on injectors, told them what other equipment was on the vehicle, like the rip kit, what kind of exhaust is going to be on it, and they pre-mapped the tune to send me. So this is the drop-in tune for Queen Bee's physical turbo upgrades. Now, a lot of people over the past couple years been whining about ARD tunes, and let me give you my 2 cents on that, even before I get this thing installed and function. I was communicating with somebody a day or two ago on Instagram about the high miles on Panther, and one thing I told him was, hey, I started tuning it, and usually that's the beginning of the end of a well-maintained car. If you leave these vehicles stock, they'll go 500,000 miles without much effort. Just general maintenance, changing the oil on time, fixing stuff that needs repaired, keeping the car tuned up, etc. I believe they're 500,000 mile cars. Now you go changing what the manufacturer did, putting in bigger turbos, boosting up the pressure, trying to put high performance parts on there versus stock parts. It's probably the beginning of the end. When the car was designed to flow all day at 222 horsepower and they crank it up to 240, now you crank it up to 300, it's just probably not going to last as long as it would as if you left it stock. So if I blow the engine up in Panther, do I really care? No, not really. I'll just put another engine in it if that happens. Am I saying tuning the car will destroy it? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you're likely decreasing the longevity of the vehicle's lifespan. Now, the most important thing that any of us should do when it comes to tuning the car is doing a complete stage zero of the car. Most of these tuners have a list of those things: changing spark plugs, changing wires, changing oil, changing turbo tubing, changing vacuum lines, making sure your transmission's in great shape, replacing old suspension parts, probably servicing your transmission, definitely servicing the engine. Now, one thing that people overlook, I believe, in doing the stage zero is doing a compression test and rebuilding old turbos. If you got an old turbo, 20 years old, 200,000+ miles on it, man, I don't care. That thing is going to need to be rebuilt. Definitely change your vacuum lines. Boosting up, revving the engine higher, you're going to need to make sure your coolant system is fresh. New coolant hoses, new coolant reservoir, new heater core hoses and seals. And if you got a 20-year-old radiator, you might want to think about replacing that too. And a lot of these cars has oil cooler lines that go from the engine up to the radiator. Those need to be refreshed as well. Anything that putting a tune on the car could add pressure to needs to be refreshed. Do your driver's seat need to be refreshed? Probably not. Does a fuel line going on top of your fuel rail need to be replaced? Probably so. Now, if you're just daily driving your car and you want to refresh your turbo, running out to the junkyard, grabbing a 15, 20-year-old turbo with 130,000 miles on it, probably not the worst thing you could do. However, if you got a 20-year-old turbo why not send that thing in to be rebuilt by a professional turbo rebuilder, or try to rebuild it yourself? Now, my opinion is throwing in an old turbo with 150,000 miles may not be a bad thing. A lot of these turbos go 200,000-300,000 miles if they're properly cared for in your normal daily driving. Taking a turbo apart, not knowing the wear specifications, not checking the shaft properly for wear, not cleaning all the carbon out of the parts the way it needs to be done, putting it back together, not having it rebalanced, you're probably putting a turbo in that under normal driving conditions will last 50,000 miles, no different than your average eBay turbo. But if you have it professionally rebuilt, it should last 200,000-300,000 miles, just like a brand new turbo. Now, I've had viewers, friends, people in the Volvo community actually send their turbo in, or a turbo in, to be upgraded by somebody that said that they rebuild turbos all the time. And I've seen and heard of those turbos not working properly when installed, blowing up 3, 4, 5, 6,000 miles. Man, you need it professionally done. You need the specs checked in the wear. You need those things professionally VSR balanced if you want them to last a good long time. I hate to be halfway across the country, decide that I need to overtake an 18-wheeler, punch on it on the highway, going from 65 to the speed limit, halfway around the truck, my turbo blow up. That's just something I don't want to do. So, I don't rebuild it myself. I have rebuilt one myself, I just don't. One other thing I want to say about dropping old turbos on your car, something I think I experienced with Queen Bee. Some of you know when I purchased the car had a newer eBay turbo on it. The turbo probably had 35,000 miles on it. I took it to the dyno. The dyno results were a little sketchy in my opinion. The overboosting was happening partially because of the wastegate, and some other things about the way the turbo spun up. I just wasn't that comfortable with it, and I wanted to do testing on the turbo that was more real life, like most of you guys would have. So I went out to the salvage yard, found the 94 850 T5, pulled that 15G off of it. It felt nice and tight. Sometimes these turbos have wear in them and they feel nice and tight because there's carbon buildup in them. Anyway, I put the turbo on the car. It seemed to run fine. It was still boosting decently. I got similar track times as I did with the other one on there. So I came back. I pulled that turbo back off. I put on this straight flange from the Volvo conical flange, and I went back to the track, and I think the car didn't run as well after pulling that turbo and putting it back on. Let's just say I got a 25-year-old turbo on the car. The car's been treated really well. I don't know the mileage on it, maybe 250,000 miles. Anyway, this turbo is going to have some wear. It's got moving parts. Well, it didn't feel like it had any shaft play, so I installed it on Queen Bee, tried to get a dyno done on it, ran some quarter-mile times. When I pulled that turbo off and put it back on, I had a little bit of a struggle getting it on. One time I reached down and felt it, the blades were bound up and I couldn't move them, which means that it wasn't straight in the exhaust flange. So took it loose, put it back on, finally got that thing where it should be, spinning, got back to the track, put an upgraded ECU in the car, and ran the same exact quarter-mile times. However, I installed a boost gauge, and I figured out that after installing it that last time, that thing was only boosting to 6 psi. So I cranked the wastegate actuator in a little bit. I was peaking at 10, boosting at 8, and I really should have been boosting at 15 psi. So my theory is taking that off, putting it back on, getting that turbine wheel bound up a little bit. I likely damaged that turbine and it would no longer spin up the way it needed to. So I'm gonna see if I got the shaft play in it in a minute or two. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it, put this one on, and know that I got a nice fresh rebuilt turbo on here for my new tank. And like you know, if you watched last time, I got some exhaust modifications. I should be boosting 15 psi with no problem. So we'll see here shortly. Still waiting on this thing to cool down a little bit. So back to my opinion. If you put a bigger turbo on and don't do the proper stage 0 procedures, you're probably going to break something and you're probably going to blow your engine out. Big example is these wastegate actuators. I can't tell you how many times I've seen messages, got messages, been told by, people that know their Volvos. They wanted a little more boost. They started tinkering around with that wastegate actuator. Their computer and their turbo control valve or boost control valve could not respond quick enough. Crack the cylinder wall. You'll know it because now you won't be building compression and you'll have misfires. You gotta replace the engine. I heard one guy is filling those cracks in, but nonetheless, don't do things improper and you probably won't blow stuff up. Now, one problem I have with tuning these things are there's just not a whole lot of money in it. It's not every day that somebody is still trying to tune an 850. Probably every other day, but not every day. Then the people that are doing it, cash poor. They're not ready to pay nobody $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to tune their car, so they're cutting corners. They get a tune from somebody, Vast, ARD, Hilton, wherever. These are small companies. I don't know how many people's on the staff at Vast Tuning, but I doubt it's 3. I don't know how many people is on the staff at ARD to deal with P80 cars. I doubt it's more than 3. They don't have a team of 20, 30, 40 people to sit there and respond to people as people would want. Hey, I was doing my Vast tune, I was doing something wrong, car wouldn't start. Actually, I was sent a bad file, couldn't get my car started. I sent them an email and I needed a response immediately. Fortunate for me, they were available. They responded to my email, sent me another tune file, got the car tuned, fired up, and going again. Now, they can't always do that. So, people send a message after they blow their car up, don't get a response in 5 minutes, then they want to go 8. Start sending mean, nasty messages. Man, you send me a mean, nasty message, I'm probably going to block you. They don't have to put up with that stuff. They're trying to help you. Yes, you paid them a couple $100, but it's nothing like what normal tuners are putting in. Man, I'm talking to these guys down at the Ford place, at the dyno place where they're doing Fords. These people are dropping $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $12,000, $18,000 into their cars. They're not playing with nickels and dimes like we are. Here we go. We spend $300 on the tune-up kit, $400 on the tune, and we expect the service like we just dropped 10 G's. Try to understand that you're dealing with a small business if you're getting tune done on your car. Be patient. Don't tune the only car you got. When Panther was down, I jumped in Queen B, drove Queen B. I'm not going to take Queen B down and Panther's not running right. It's not going to happen. I'm going to keep myself a good daily driver running. I'll tinker with this tuning stuff as long as it takes, and I'll be patient with the tuner. So, if you're trying to get somebody to help you with an ECU tune, be patient. My goodness, you're not spending a fortune. I am by no means making excuses for these guys. When they send you a tune, it should be one set up the way you guys communicated with. For when you pay your money for a tune for a 19T, you shouldn't get a tune for a 16T. So I'm not making excuses for them. I think they should pay attention, not get overwhelmed, help the people that they're under financial contract to help. But I am saying, hey, it's a small business. Be a little patient. It's a specialty group. Work together, get the stuff done, and try not to be a jack, if you know what I mean. Queen B is cooled down some. Let me get a pan to drain the coolant, get these pipes off of it, get this stuff out of the way so that I can replace the turbo. First thing you do is open the back, lower the lower hatch, lift up this, and unlatch these. Once you unlatch these two like that, you can grab this, pull this panel all the way out and out of the way. This little floor panel just lifts and comes out. Lift up on this tab and pull it out. Then you'll have access to the bolts. On that, unscrew that, and you're coming in here and you put it on that, unscrew that. So that's where your two securing bolts are. You just use two hands to maneuver the light out and away from the vehicle. Now you can access all of those bulbs. It's an eighth of a turn. Pull it out. Push in, twist the bulb out, replace it. You have these nice fancy lights and these $150, $180 bulbs. You cannot touch them. Get you a brand new fresh pair of gloves. Put the gloves on, then handle the bulbs. Do not touch those bulb elements with your fingers. The grease will destroy them. They won't last a couple weeks, and you'll be buying a new bulb. Trying to figure out why it didn't work. So I'm gonna put these gloves on, handle the bulb, put that in, and then put the car back together. Back cover off. You look in here, and there's two tabs. One on this side, one down here. You rotate those tabs counterclockwise to flip them to unlock that light bulb assembly. Then once you slide the light bulb out, this one here doesn't have a latch on the plug. You simply pull that plug off of there. If you look down in there, there's two pins on one side, one pin on the other. So when you put it back together, you don't mess that up. The light assembly, you see those arrows? You turn it counterclockwise to remove the bulb. And when you go to put it back together, you set it in place and you turn it clockwise to close it. That arrow is going to be straight up when it's closed and locked. It'll be at 11 o'clock position when it's open. Light assembly pulled out and away from the car. You take this tab, pull it all the way up and out. Take this tab, pull it all the way up and out. Use two hands to maneuver the light assembly up over the bumper. You can put a towel on the bumper if you want to try to avoid scratching it. And when you put these light bulb latches back in, you'll see that one is in that bracket there, and that one is in that bracket down there, close to the washer bottle nozzle. So that's it. They have warnings about touching this bulb in every language. You might want to use your phone, take a picture of it, and blow it up if you're my age and can no longer read that fine print. Do not touch the bulb. Don't put on gloves, move the light, then touch the bulb. Don't touch the bulb. Do everything you can to have a fresh pair of gloves on just in case you happen to bump it. But I had to grab the light assembly and pull it out away from the vehicle to get that bulb in position, and I replaced the glove, because you just don't want to touch the bulb. 175 bucks, 200 bucks a pop. You don't want to mess that up. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.